I would play Hojlund on one side of Sancho and Rashford on the other side, because that's what Liverpool had with Mane and Salah, bro. You know what I mean? Hojlund's left-footed coming inside, Rashford's right-footed coming inside, because, bruv, yeah, it's one of them ones where I can't lie. If the ball's not gonna stick, it's peak for us, blood. I think that it's gonna be one of them ones where in certain away games against certain teams, I think we could do well, like sucker punching teams. Do you know what I'm saying? But the games where we're meant to have the majority of the ball and put it on teams, yeah, we might struggle. And that was the same thing that happened kind of under Oli, where when we played against teams and they came out, we found ways of picking them off. Do you know what I'm saying? And against other teams that actually sat back and let us have the ball, this is where we had our problems, because who's unlocking teams, bro? Even when you look at our midfield right now, like people can talk a lot about Bruno and creating chances and all that. Let's be honest, innit? If we're having loads of possession, Bruno's not the guy that's gonna play the eye of the needle pass, yeah, and we're gonna score goals. He's not that kind of creator, innit? He's a volume creator. That's what he is. And even when you look at his stats from last year, like they don't move people in it. Like his output is declining because he's playing deeper. He's playing a different role for the team now. Mason Mount is not going to turn into fucking Cesc Fabregas. It's not going to happen. So where's our chances?
You know what it is? From that aspect, I'll be real. If you want to do Sancho with Hojlund and Rashford, I think that's a big gamble. I'll be very honest, because as much as Sancho has done well pre-season, like false nine, I'll be real, yo. Like, if somebody was to say to me right now, like, the Sancho against Lewis Dunk against Brighton, like, I know who I'm putting my money on that one. Yeah,
but he's never going to be against them. That's the whole point of a false nine. As a false nine, you don't play up against anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, Firmino didn't play up against anyone.
No, that's true. But of course, depending on the situation, there might be times. But the thing about Sancho is because I'll be real, like the thing about Sancho is I've seen pre-season, and I remember like last year he sucked me back in, and I was like, yo, like this is gonna be our campaign. And it's just, bro, like Prem football is so different to pre-season. And it's like he just drowns out there come game week 1. But even then, I'll be real, I don't trust the wide players to carry Sancho playing as a false nine. I really don't. Like even Hojlund, I'll be real. Like, as much as I'm backing the guy, I don't really know what I'm getting out of him. Like, he might come in and surprise everybody and hit the ground running, or he might just be one of those players that takes a whole season to adapt. And I'll be real, bro. Like, at the end of the day, if you're gonna accept putting Hojlund out wide, why go on with Anthony? Like, this is a brother that we dropped 100 M's on. Like,
100%. But if Hojlund's scoring goals, we don't care about Anthony. I'll be honest. We're Manchester United. Like, we can have a €100 million player on the bench. We can. You know that if he's not scoring goals and he's not producing, then it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm a firm believer, yeah, in playing the players that are playing well, innit? That's just what it boils down to. If anyone said to me at the start of pre-season, Sancho false nine, I'd be like, what are you talking about? You know, like what are you talking about? I said, because I was like, yeah, it could play in the 10 and that, but false nine, never saw it. Now I've seen it. And against good opposition as well, whether it's pre-season or not. Like, man's played against some good enough opposition to know that under pressure, he can drop deep, get on the ball, link things, and actually make good runs in behind as well. And he's got a little turn of pace there that people were saying that he didn't have. Like, he's got all the attributes to do it, innit? And he looks like our sharpest attacker right now in pre-season. I don't think anyone can argue that. Like, even if you're not the biggest fan of him, you can see in pre-season, he looks closest to match ready for match day 1 out than all of our other attackers.
Nah, I reckon I'll be surprised if he doesn't start game week 1. I'll be honest, especially when I saw him play 70, 75. But Sancho, for me, like I said, it's just a replica of Martial, where he's got the attributes for the role. Our wide players don't have the attributes to play with a false nine, because I'll be real, like eventually there's gonna come a period where Rashford might be ineffective down the left. The right winger is going to be ineffective, because this is literally what I saw with Martial, where now the two wide players were ineffective. And that's when everybody started to ask questions of the so-called false nine, where they're like, sweet, if the wide man are ineffective, I need the false nine to start doing more than just dropping deep and connecting the dots. Like, yo, I need you to be in the opposition box, gambling on things. Now, of course, that's not what really a false nine does.
Mm.
But bro, there will be a period where people are gonna start asking questions because our wide players showed they weren't effective with Martial. Like, to be fair, last year you could say we played false nine with Martial, and they were ineffective. So
Yeah, I know, but
this year,
respectfully, Martial ain't even half as mobile as Jaden, bro. Like Martial can't run. Like we know that now. Like Martial will hold the ball and link it, but he can't run, blood. Like, and that's the thing. Like he don't have the pace that Jaden has in behind now. He doesn't have it. Like I think everyone's has to kind of admit Martial's body's finished. Like it's finished. Like he looks like he is playing within himself all the time now because he doesn't want to get injured. And every time he goes for a sprint, you know you're not going to see him for like 3 or 4 weeks, bro. Like this is where he is in it physically. I think that Jaden gives us something completely different. He gives us a similar profile in terms of coming to the ball. He's a lot more agile and, like you said, like his reactive dribbling and his instinctive dribbling in tight spaces and stuff like that. It's different. Like it's completely different, innit? It gives you a different profile. It gives you closer to like Bobby's profile than Tony's, because Tony's actually a striker. Bobby was a midfielder. Jaden's a midfielder, but he's got that pace in behind as well. And if you're gonna have Bruno behind and Mason Mount, like throwing things over the top for him, I believe he'll score goals. Just like the way he took his goal against Arsenal. I think if he plays in that position enough, he will start to score goals because he's reactive enough and he's quick enough to kind of get on the end of things, make moves in between the lines, and also link. Do you know what I mean? But we haven't seen him for a sustained period in that position. But one thing I've seen is enough to know that, say if he gets a run of 6 or 7 games in that position, he scores goals and he does well. Because remember, like we're not going to be playing Real Madrid every week. We're not going to be playing Borussia Dortmund every week. Like it's the Premier League.
nah, you know what it is? I get that, but I'll have to say, when you play Dortmund and Madrid, especially in a preseason game, I feel like they're a bit more aggressive than a Premier League team would be, in a sense where, bro, a Premier League team against Man United is just going to sit back. That's exactly what it is. They're just going to sit back. And I'll be real, like, as much as Sancho will probably benefit us in the second phase in terms of progressing the ball forwards, bro, I'll be real. Like, at the end of it, if we get into the opposition half and we're trying to create something, Sancho doesn't really have that box presence. You know what I mean? And I'll be real, like, as much as he took his goal really well against Arsenal, I'll be real, yo. Like, I've still got question marks over Sancho, like, playing on the transition, especially centrally. Like, I look at it completely opposite to you, which is I think this team, what we need more than anything is a focal point in attack where it's a striker that has that box presence, that's going to gamble on loose things, somebody that Rashford and Anthony that can play towards. Because when I look at Anthony, like, the only glimmer of hope I have in him is fair play. Like, he done his thing when he had Sebastian Haller. Like, he performed relatively well. Martial isn't really a focal point anymore. Like, he's not somebody you can play towards. I think that's what this team needs more than anything, like an outlet centrally rather than constantly having an outlet out wide.
But
With
how many
Sancho,
teams have a proper outlet though centrally? And look at the profile of these players.
City have someone centrally.
Yeah, no. Do you know what I mean? But he's a dying breed of number nines. Do you know what I mean? He's a dying breed of number nines. Like these guys are not really out there. Like they're not really out there. Like even when you watch Hojlund, yeah, he drifts a lot as well. Like he's quick, he drifts out wide and stuff. Like he's not a bully in it. Like he's not that kind of player. And I just don't think that kind of player exists in it. And it's one of them things where, like you said, that you think that they need a player to play into. I would say, yeah, you more need a player that's gonna come in and involve themselves in the game more than someone to play into, because Rashford ain't gonna play into no one. Rashford gets the ball, puts his head down, and tries to do what he's gonna do. Rashford's not gonna turn into this intelligent, creative wide player that does what Sancho does when he's out wide, puts his foot on the ball, gets his head up, and looks to see who he can pop it into. Rashford's never gonna be that guy. As soon as the ball goes to Rashford, first touch, he wants to get it out his feet and into space so he can run. Every time. It's like clockwork. Like Rashford is not going to be the guy to put his foot on the ball and try and link with a number 9. And this is why I think him and Hojlund could actually get in each other's way, because I don't think Rashford is cute enough to play that kind of game. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think he's cute enough. Like, I think he needs someone like a Benzema that's gonna do the selfless stuff, come deep, pick up the ball, lay it off for him, and just let him play his game. Because Rashford's not gonna change his game, bruv. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, and Rashford is not. He's not learning nothing new. Do you know what I mean? And that's the only thing. I'm just thinking about how does it gel? How does it all gel together?
That's I get it from that sense. Like, I'll be real. Me and you are on the same page in terms of whether it's false 9 or it's with Hojlund down the center. The question mark is Rashford, because his play style, he plays for himself, and at the end of the day, that doesn't benefit anybody. Yeah, but I think the way I look at it is, I still feel where, like, with Sancho, as much as I feel like technically he benefits this team, especially in terms of providing control, I think physically he will struggle. Like, I can really see come game week 1, Sancho will get bullied centrally, and he'll struggle. He'll struggle to hold up the ball. Like, that's where, if anything, I might even favor Martial over him, because I'll be real, physically, I still edge Martial over
What
Sancho.
physical strength? Of course, he's a bigger guy. He's a bigger guy. Do you know what I'm saying? But I think what Sancho does well in that position is he receives the ball whilst he's moving. Like, you watch him, it's not like he's pinning defenders. He's not going to pin defenders. Martial can pin defenders. Bobby didn't pin defenders. Everything was on the move, running towards the ball, little flick here, flick here. It's constant, being constantly dynamic. That's how he played the false 9, innit? Martial, physically stronger than both of them, can pin and play like a traditional number 9 in the sense of pinning players. Like, the way I see it, yeah, and the way I saw it with CR7 as well, like when he was our number 9, it was like you either have to just play completely into this guy, yeah, for him to get goals, and everyone else doesn't get goals. Do you know what I'm saying? Or you pick a number 9 that is going to do all the other stuff and sacrifice his goals for everyone else's goals. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that we can find a system, yeah, where our number 9 gets goals and Rashford's get goals and Anthony gets goals. I can't. Do you know what I mean? Because even when you look at Liverpool, Bobby wasn't scoring. Mane and Salah was scoring. And then when Nunes was down the middle, yeah, Salah wasn't scoring. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
You
I
know,
don't see a way that you can fit them all in, bro, without a striker down the middle that sacrifices himself or sacrificing the goals of Rashford to get goals for Hojlund. But I can't see a way they both score. That's why Rashford and Martial do well together, because Martial's not selfish at all.
I get that. Like, I completely agree with it. Yeah, but I think it's one of those ones where it's like you have to pick which one do you want. Like you said, either the 9 sacrifices his output, or the 2 wide players sacrifice their output. And the way that I look at it is, at the end of the day, I'll just compare the 2. Now, of course, I can't compare them in terms of sheer output, because we haven't seen them play, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I just feel like our wide players currently, besides Rashford, and that's why I said, like, I feel like Ten Hag has to say something to him. Like, look, like, yo, last year or whichever years, like, you've had Martial. Martial has been that player that's been willing to sacrifice himself. Now that we've gone and splashed 60, 70 M's on a striker, and everybody can see what
20-year-old striker that's not going to come in and play straight away.
I think he will. I'll be real. I think maybe not the first game, because I don't know about, well, to be fair, he's been playing preseason for Atalanta, but I reckon by game week 2, game week 3, we might even be forced to start him, because, bro, like, I was like, yesterday's game, prime example, even when Sancho was on the pitch, I was watching it and I was like, yo, even with Sancho on the pitch, I still have one outlet, and it's only Rashford. Because I'll be real, for me, Sancho still isn't an outlet. It's only Rashford. I look at it, especially in terms of the transition ball we're trying to play, 2 outlets is better than none. 3, I'd love to be in a position where we've got 3 outlets. I'll be real, but with Anthony, it's like you're getting something completely different. But I still feel like Hojlund being in the box, occupying centre halves, will just create more space for your Rashfords, your Anthonys, your Brunos, your Mounts. Because as much as Weghorst was a dud, I'll be real, first few games, Weghorst, when he came in and it was like, Nobody knew what you were getting out of him.
It's
When
a
he was
breath of fresh
occupying
air
centre
in it,
half,
just to have something different.
when you just had that physical nine that was occupying centre halves, making runs into the box. I remember there was a goal we scored against Crystal Palace. I can't remember if it was Ericsson or Bruno, but Weghorst literally occupied three centre halves by himself, and Bruno or Ericsson had all the time to pick their slot. I feel like that's where this team will benefit more. With Rashford, I'm sorry, with Sancho, Sancho ain't occupying no centre halves. And I'll be real, like, I like Sancho, but Sancho ain't no Bobby, he ain't no Benz. Like, it's just, I'm taking it with a pinch of salt, all of his performances in preseason. But he's a good option, I'll be real. Like, I look at it as Sancho will be third choice. So it will be Hojlund primarily. If it's not Hojlund, Rashford, and then maybe like in some games or like to see out games, Sancho comes on as a false nine. I don't think it's something we'll use.
Yeah, we'll see, innit? Like when I say that he's not a Bobby, and that, listen, when Bobby went to Liverpool, he wasn't a Bobby either. You know them ones. Like he wasn't brought into play there. And I said the same thing yesterday. It's like you can't say he can't do it until he gets given the opportunity to do it, and he doesn't do it. Do you know what I mean? Because everything that we've seen shows you that he can do it. What level he can do it at consistently, we don't know. We do not know, innit? Big up Adam for the super chat. He's saying we're here trying to work out how to include Rashford, find a way to fit him in when we should use him as an impact sub. I'd sell him fed up with his tyrannical presence. No, he's right, bro. Like, to be honest, like we've just given him a new contract, and we're really thinking about how to fit Rashford in, because really that's what it is. Because if Hojlund comes in as the 9, I'm thinking, how does Hojlund and Sancho? I mean, how does Hojlund and Rashford work? I'm not thinking about how does Hojlund and Sancho work, or Hojlund and Anthony, because Anthony and Sancho aren't head down attacking, trying to score goals like Rashford. It's one of them ones. Like it is literally that. It's trying to work out how we can fit Rashford in the team. And the funny thing is, on his performances, he probably doesn't deserve to play. However, because he gets you goals, and because he's got that pace that you cannot buy, yeah, it's kind of like you just have to take the good with the bad with him. We're not, it sucks to say it, bro, but this is what it is.